Senseless TV. With me tonight is Al. How you doing, Al? And of course, Mike from Maryland. Steamboat Willie's not with us today. He is resting, but I'm sure he'll watch the show when he gets online. How you guys doing tonight?
Very good, thank you.
Good.
Good.
Hey, all right, we got the echo fixed.
There's a lot to talk about for sure. I want to start talking about the debate last night real quick. I am not sure why they had the debate last night. Since the people running, and I got my suspicions why they're doing it. I think Vivek wants to be part of the staff when if and when Trump wins, and I think Mr. Scott also is looking for some kind of position in the White House, whether it's VP or something, for him to do that, because it was, first of all, it was a boring. It's Nikki Haley fighting with everybody. DeSantis looks like just a beaten boxer in 12th round, and he just has no energy anymore. He looks bad. I mean, just in his presentation alone, he looks like, I'm done. But he won't quit. Hoping and praying that something happens in Iowa.
He looks sanctimonious.
It's actually kind of sad, because I was a big fan of him in the beginning, and he lost me with his nonsense and his rhetoric, right? What do you think, Mike?
Yeah, the only good thing I heard good thing I heard that actually came out on saying, if you go to college and you protested for Hamas, we yank your visas and back home.
I agree.
They all kind of unified on that, and I thought that was good. Other than that, it was just kind of tit for tat type stuff.
Right. And bringing that up, I was at a meeting last night where I had the opportunity to speak, and we were talking just about that, about the educational system. And one of the speakers said something that made a lot of sense to me. He said a lot, everything
What happened?
starts in the colleges and it comes down.
I'm the only one here. Welcome to the Al Collins Show, everyone. I don't know what happened to Tony and Mike, but hopefully they'll be back shortly. Oh, there you are.
There we are. Hey, I know you're super excited because the strike is over, right?
Thank God. Enough already.
Yeah.
Enough.
Yeah. So going back to there's that echo. Thanks, Al. So going back to what I wanted to talk about a minute ago is, we were talking about last night about how colleges have been indoctrinating the students, right? And it slowly is seeped down to high schools and elementary schools now. And one of the speakers said something that was really interesting to me. He says, who this happened, what's going on in our country now is because of the 60s and the hippies, right? That's how he explained it. And he said, think about this. The hippies are now the professors in college. They're the ones teaching our kids, right? And so they were already in that mindset of progressive wokeism kind of attitude that we had in the 60s and in the early 70s with the hippies, right? And these are the guys and gals teaching our kids now in college. Now, the kids are teaching in college, guess what they're doing? They're becoming teachers, and they're going to the high schools and elementary schools, and now they're training those kids or trying to indoctrinate them into believing something other than, math, English, science, civics kind of thing, right? So it's interesting that generation that we thought kind of grew up and became, professionals, they're the ones that are initiating a lot of this nonsense that's happening in college campuses. I don't I seriously don't understand how people think terrorism is something nice or how we should support Hamas. That I don't get that. Um, but I think we owe it to our kids to at least try to change their mindset as they're growing up, right? And not allow some of this nonsense to get in their heads, right? Because it's like a young person, a 12-year-old girl that wants to chop off her breast and become a man, right? At 12, she might want to do that, right? But at 18, she might say, no, I don't want to do that. I want them back. And, the damage is done, right? The damage is done at that time. So we have to do a better job with our families and our friends to talk and get engaged with them more. I was talking to, I don't know if you heard about this, Mikey. We had a stabbing at a high school the other night, Van Nuys. There was 2 kid stabs in a high school, right? I know violence happens, but at some point we need to make a stand and make some things reasonable for people to be safe in school. And I was talking to my wife, and she, I don't know if she agreed with me or not, but I said, look, when we go to concerts now, we got to have a clear backpack, right? You can't have a big backpack. It's got to be clear. What's the problem with us mandating that our kids have clear backpacks to go to school?
We have that now in my high schools.
We don't have it here.
They have clear. Yeah, we got clear backpacks, and they got metal detectors when you walk through. So that kind of frightens if the would-be's off.
Well, we have some schools with metal detectors, but that's going to be in South Central, not in the Valley, right? It's not going to happen. But we got to do something besides making everything political, right? Violence is violence. Violence has nothing to do with politics. People are going to do what they're going to do, right? We got to minimize that by putting things in place. Yeah, I mean, I love living in a free country, but obviously we can't have kids taking knives to school. We just can't have that, right? We just can't. And we have innocent kids getting hurt, right? And it might be over nonsense. It might be because of a gang, something with gangs, or just a pet peeve, or just kids being assholes, right? I mean, that's possible too.
Right.
But we got to make sure that they're safe. And since we don't have enough law enforcement to be in all our schools, I think a clear backpack would at least minimize some of the damage, because then you can see everything that's in the backpack. My wife went to a concert a couple of weeks ago with my granddaughter, and they could only take a purse, I think it was 4x6, and it had to be in a clear bag so that everybody could see it, right? And that's a concert for adults, right? So I don't know.
Right.
I think that would be a great idea. And then, hey, taxpayers pay for it. I'd rather pay for that than medical treatment, psychiatrists to come to the school, psychologists to talk to these kids, and have them scarred for life.
Yeah, it's crazy. I went to a concert, took a water bottle in, and they said, "Oh, you can't have that," because it was clear, it was sealed. And I got inside, and they were selling them for $7, where I bought mine for $1. I was like, "No, this is crap."
That's just a money thing, It's just that's a money thing. But it should pain people to watch kids get hurt. I don't get it. I don't understand why people don't focus more on what happened instead of turning everything into something political, right?
Right, exactly.
That's
I
the
saw
problem,
a thing
right?
today.
Every
I saw
time
a thing
something
today with
happens,
the neighbors.
everything
The neighbors out here want to have December 1st, 2nd, and 3rd as a no black on black crime day. And I'm going, okay, and who's going to abide by that? Good luck, folks, because it ain't going to happen. Because if we don't have a shooting or something going on every day, it's like, it just don't happen.
Well, we have something similar in California. I forgot what Governor Newsom calls it, but it's an alert when an African American child is missing, right? A child is a child. I don't give a crap what color you are, right? I mean,
Exactly.
and this is the problem, that we keep getting divided by race, by whatever your job is. whatever your beliefs are, whether you're a Christian or Catholic. There's a candidate out there, and I'm not going to say the name of the candidate, who I kind of liked. I liked her views. She's a little bit too far to the right for me when it comes to religion, but she began attacking Catholics, right? And to me, if you're a Republican and that's your argument, I don't want you in office. I might like you personally, but I don't want you in office. She had,
Right.
I think it was 18 reasons why Catholics are evil and the devil, right? Again, everybody's entitled to their opinion, right? That's fine. Not every religion is
Said
perfect.
Satan.
Yeah, not every religion is perfect.
See the horns on my head?
Yeah. I don't have them. Mine are shaved. And
Mine are on the wall.
It kind of it upset me. And then I looked at it and I'm like, you know what? She's just a dumbass. She's just a dumbass. Like, she's just trying to get in the office with the line that if you're not a Christian, you're not a good person. And I hate that line because that's not true. Right? We all get our morals and values from besides church. Some of us get us from your parents, your grandparents, friends, right? You don't have to be a religious person to be a good person. You just don't, right? And I truly believe that. My religion is nobody's business, right? Whether I'm a Satanist or a Catholic or a Christian or a Jew, it shouldn't matter to anybody, right? That's my right to do what I want to do and believe what I want to believe in. But I took offense, probably because I'm Catholic, and I didn't expect that from her, who proclaims to be a devout Christian, loving human being. And that goes to show you some of the things that I've learned in politics the last year and a half or 2 years, that they say one thing, but they really mean something else. And we have to be careful when we vote for people, right? And pay close attention to what they're saying and what they're doing. And that tells you everything about that person, right? Kind of like people learning about music, right? All of a sudden, his numbers are going down, right? People are getting tired. I don't know if you saw this, Al, but the other day, remember that lawsuit when Eric Garcetti was our mayor? His assistant was sexually harassing the police officer. We paid $1.1 million.
I remember.
Right. Taxpayer money.
Wow.
Garcetti got away with. He doesn't have to worry about anything, right? If that was me, I would have been terminated from my employment. Right? But because he was the mayor, the taxpayers have to take that burden on. Right? So some of the things that we have in place are just simply unfair to the taxpayer. Simply unfair. And there's got to be checks and balances when we make decisions as a society, whether it's a school, whether it's helping the homeless. There's just so much that is going on that people lose focus on just to be a nice person, help your neighbor, pick up a freaking bottle that somebody threw in the street and throw it in the trash. Just basic common sense things that we would all do, in a different time, right? Because I can remember, when I was young, I would pick things up. Now you walk by and people just throw crap all over the place. Something that last night we had a California Republican officer speak to us about how the party's divided, right? And they were talking about why Republicans don't get support in California. And the amazing part is that they're not going to support anybody that doesn't fit into the California mold of a Republican, which I learned yesterday is not what I am, right? A California Republican is somebody like Mitch McConnell. Those are the kind of people, and he gave the name of the person that's going to run for governor, and I never heard of this guy before until last night. And he's going to be the chosen one to run for governor for the Republican Party, regardless of anybody else out there that's running on the Republican side.
Huh.
So there's just too much good old boy crap going on, even within our own party, right? And I think sometimes we don't want to admit that we're kind of screwed up, right? And the reason California is in the mess it is because we are screwed up, and we talk a good game. Um, we run elections assuming we might have a chance to win, but we don't do anything when we get in there. We just don't. Kevin Kiley is a great example. I used to like him, but he bailed on the state to go to Congress, right? He was a thorn on Newsom's side, and he bailed, right? And now from Congress, he's tweeting all this other bullshit about Newsom. Well, you left the state, asswipe. You have no right to say anything anymore. That's how I feel about it. I mean, if you bail on the state,
that's like your guy Adam Schiff, out here in Potomac, Maryland, been here for the last 10 years, and claims Burbank is his primary residence, so he's not paying tax or whatever out here.
Yeah. Hey, but he keeps getting elected, right?
I mean, well,
keeps getting
there's
elected.
Some dumbass. Good thing he ain't on our ballot.
Well, he might not win. I think Katie Porter has a good chance on beating him. And it's funny, we were talking about that specific race last night. And so it's Katie Porter, Adam Schiff, Barbara Lee, and Steve Garvey's number 4 on the list. Right? Steve Garvey's number 4. He hasn't made any appearances. He hasn't done anything. And he's number 4 on the list. Right? Eric Early
he's a good pitch man.
Yeah, he's got plenty of wives and plenty of kids. But it goes to show you that people really never really look at the person they're voting for, or even research, or even ask questions about what they truly believe. Today, I use an example because we have a candidate for Senate running. Her name is Elizabeth Earls for District 25th. And she's a very nice lady, very Christian lady, very nice, open-minded about the things that need to happen in California. Somebody like that deserves to win, right? But, she's kind of bland, right? She's not an excited person. She's very low-key, kind of monotone. Yeah, we love her in our district, but how is that going to attract people to vote for her when you have a loudmouth running against her, right? People get caught up on that. Kind of like when Arnold won, right? Arnold won because he's Arnold. Nobody paid attention to his policies.
Arnold.
And then when he got in there, they realized he had no backbone, right? He is really, I know he's a Republican, but he's a Democrat, right? And I don't have a problem with being a Democrat, but he's no backbone to push back. And I don't want that in a leader. I don't want a leader to be weak. I want him to push back. I want him to fight for the people. I don't want him going to, China or Israel to go talk and speak like he's in charge of something. I want him to come help us because we need a lot of help. We got a lot of problems in California. A lot of problems, right? We got money issues in California, right? We got abortion issues in California, right? One of the few states that sea turtle eggs have more rights than fetuses, right? To me, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, I believe that.
And not because I'm against or pro-abortion, but if sea turtle eggs have more rights to live than a fetus, we have a problem. We're not prioritizing what's really important, right? California ranks at the bottom of the list in education, bottom of the list. And we got the 3rd highest paid teachers in the nation, and we're at the bottom of the list. To me, that's a big deal, right? To me, it's a big deal. We got plenty of tax hole loops, right? In California, you can open up a trust fund in another state and not pay taxes in California. So if you open it up in Texas, guess what? You don't have to pay taxes. Well, if you're a resident of California and you can afford to open up a trust in another state, you need to pay taxes. I do. Right? They tax my pension. We need to tax everybody, as far as I'm concerned, if you're going to live here.
Yeah.
We worry more about things like AB 1266, right? The Transgender Bathroom Gym Act. That's really important, right? Crime doesn't matter, right? Raping women in Long Beach doesn't matter, right? But transgender bathrooms is a big issue for the governor. So our priorities are so skewed that again, people don't.
They got no common sense.
Well, but as the people, right? We should fight back.
Oh yeah.
We should demand from leaders, hey, let's prioritize. We can't fix everything, okay? And I said this today to a group of Republican women. I'm not going to stand here and tell you that I'm going to fix everything, because we can't fix everything. We have to prioritize what we want to fix first, and then work one step at a time, right? And anybody that tells you that they can fix everything, I use Young Kim's campaign model last time she ran, right? I'm gonna push for term limits, and I'm gonna make it happen. And I told them, I'm like,
She ain't no shit.
what she didn't tell the people, well, you need 36 other states to agree. I'm like, and let's be realistic. What 36 states in this republic are going to agree to anything? Right? It's just not going to happen. It's not going to happen. So we got to stop listening to the rhetoric and pay attention. And then if they say they're going to do something, let's research it to make sure they can do that. Because there's a lot of things we can't do. We can't do without, the House going to the Senate. And if we don't have the Senate, we know pretty much we can't do much.
Right.
It all becomes shaking hands and kissing each other and kumbayaing and getting a little bit of what we need while giving something up. Right. But people just don't pay attention to all that and what's really going on. I don't know if you guys saw my post the other day about the taxes that they're working on in California. I'm going to pull them up real quick. And I shared this with my wife, and she was shocked. And she lives with me, and she was shocked that she didn't know about it. But
she loses you part-time.
Yeah, I know. So in California, the governor and the Senate are working on property transfer tax of 4 to 6% of the sale price of your home if you try to sell your home in California. That's one of the things they want to pass. Then there's the mileage tax. They're trying to get on the ballot. $900 to $1,400 annually for an average of 15,000 miles per year. Now, I don't know about you, Al, but I drive at least 40,000 miles a year, right? So our rate could be a little bit higher.
I do too.
Yeah.
That's a typical Democratic move.
Well, yeah. Utility rate tax. This one's even better. $1,200 per year for others, because it's going to be based on your income. So the more you make, the more you're going to pay on your utilities, whether you use the same as your neighbor or not. It's all going to be based on your salary, not on what you use. Right? And then the final one they're working on is property assessment tax. So when they reset your home's value to market rate, the impact will be roughly $4,000 to $12,000 per year, depending on when you purchased your home. Right. So you're going to tax the people in California to death with nonsense.
Yeah.
But people don't know. And they're going to find out right before that bill gets signed by the governor. Right. And guess what? He's termed out. He don't care.
Hell no. I mean, it's like we had Martin O'Malley wanting to do a rain tax out here, depending on your house size and how much space the rain would take up, and they want to do that. It got shot in the end. They were like, you don't produce the rain. Yeah. ideas.
But the thing is that, most people don't know it, right? Most people don't realize some of the backdoor dealings that are happening because we're not really paying attention, right? Because we're worried about the two jobs we have or the hours we work or, what's happening in the world today or my kid's homework or my daughter's problems with her boyfriend. And we're not really focused on some of the things that slap us in the face. And then we sit there and go, duh, how did this happen? How did I not know this was coming? Because you're not paying attention. You're just not. And we owe it to the American people, to Californians, to anybody in this country. We owe to tell them, hey, times are tough and we're going to do this. What are your thoughts? Ask. Because I think if we have a open communication with people, you could come to terms on things. You might be able to raise some taxes and not destroy a family. But if you think about that, $1,400 driving 15,000 miles a year on top of gas, top of insurance, right?
Right.
Seriously, guys, I drive almost 45,000 miles a year. And that was before going to San Diego. That would break me if I have to pay that, right? That would break me. There's no way I could do that, right? And the average person won't be able to do that. And you can have all the electric cars you want. You still got to pay the mileage. Yeah. And then what, right? So some of the things they want to do, I understand the premise behind it, but at some point they got to come to terms and say, you know what? It's like our family budget. We need to keep the budget at this level. So if we can't go to a nice restaurant, we don't go. If we have to eat at Burger King, we're going to Burger King, and that'll be our family dinner, right? If we can't go to spend $3,000 at Disneyland for one day, we're not going to go, right? So that's the problem with the gun. It's not their money, so they don't care. They just don't care about it, and they spend it any way they want. Kind of like schools, right? To me,
you need to get
if we're going to spend money on
the legislators in Sacramento, you need to get over the legislators in Sacramento and say, okay, if you got to drive from LA to Sacramento every day without using a state car, you got to throw it right back in their face.
And it's funny because we know, like school teachers, right? They work for 9 months and they're off for 3, right? They went on unemployment, right? People in politics, they have a 3-month break also, right? Like right now, everybody in California is off. The Senate and the Assembly people, they're back home. They're still getting paid. They're not doing anything. Well, they're campaigning. I'm sorry, they're campaigning. Right. But they're not doing anything else, and they're still getting paid. So it's, we got to look at all these things that are happening and why they're happening and why do they have special privileges. I talked about the pension plan in California, right? It's a mess, right? For city workers, state workers. There's not enough money to go around, right? And I broke it down this way to them last night. I'm like, I spent 26 years in the Army. I only got 50% of my base salary. That's it, right? Said I didn't get 100% like all city employees do, right? If I die, my wife doesn't get it. Out here in the government jobs, if you die, your spouse gets your pension. She'll continue to get it. Doesn't happen with military people, right? We don't get to keep it.
But if you work,
there's got to be
a job like you got now, and you're paying Social Security, and you're collecting. There's the windfall elimination program, which says,
"Yep,
no, we don't pension. We don't want to give you Social Security," and that's bullshit. Because I've worked since I was 16, and in between.
The system is rigged against normal people. It's rigged against normal people. The system. Oh yeah. But again, it's really up to us to fight back And that's where I have a hard time, because people are complacent. Um, crime, right? If they're not affected by the crime, they don't care. Right? They just don't. It didn't happen to me, so I don't have to worry about it, right? Um, which is sad, because that's the wrong mentality, right, to have. It's like safety for the kids in school. Yeah, my child is safe at his school or her school, but we still have to take care of all the kids. And if we don't, things like in Van Nuys will happen again. Right. So that's kind of the sad part of all this, is that, since it's not affecting us right now, we don't care, because there's so many other things that we need to worry about. Um, and that's the problem with society. We don't care about our next door neighbor. We're afraid to even say hi to people in the street, because we're afraid how they're going to react. Right. Um, I did that Veteran March last weekend, I believe, and it was all well and it was Hollywood. I was surprised we didn't get crap thrown at us, and um, we only had a few people curse at us, flip us off. But I would think more people would be. There are a lot more veterans than people that we had. You know what I mean? We had, I think, maybe 100 people showed up at most. And even the people that set up the parade said the sad part about this is that it was only us, right? And we were marching for those 13 Marines that got left behind, right? That was really the parade for those 13 kids. And listening to one of the mothers talk was heartbreaking. She was talking to her son 5 hours prior to him dying, right? And he was telling her that he was guarding a little Afghan girl that was left behind by her parents, right? And she was with him, that little girl. 5 hours later, he was gone, right? Now, I don't know if the little girl was gone too, but he was gone, right? And we did nothing about it, right? After he passed away, she had 3 more children. Her son committed suicide a year later after his brother got killed in Afghanistan. These are things we don't hear about, right?
Right.
Because we always think about that poor soldier. We don't think about the effect on the family, on the siblings. His brother killed himself because his brother got killed. Right? Then his girlfriend spoke. Right? We never hear about all these tragic stories. We hear the initial, but the effects that it happens to people that they cared about is tremendous. I mean, that mother, I got to give her credit. That's a badass lady, right? She's a strong woman, but it's heartbreaking to hear the story. She lost 2 sons in a year. Yeah. And we forgot about them. We and I say we, not us, but we as society forgot about those 13 people in Afghanistan that we left behind. And our motto is supposed to be no one's left behind, right?
Right.
We bring everybody home.
How many more out there?
It happens more than we care to say. You know what I mean? It happens more than we care to say. Kind of like out here, right? Those kids that got stabbed, right? Story's over, right? They talked about it for a day or two, and then it's all over, right? We don't talk about the effect that's going to have on those kids and the family. Right? We just don't. We just kind of forget about it, right? We want to talk about other things like freaking Trump or Ron DeSantis or Biden, right? Or Mitch McConnell. We lose focus on what's truly important. And what's truly important is us down here. Because there's not much we can do to change those assholes up there, right? But we can make a difference down here, and help people out and talk to them and try to do what you can for them, right? Yeah. If you can donate to something, donate. If you can't, don't. If you can help pick up trash, right? Because it starts with us. If we do it, our kids will learn, hey, this is something that we did normally. It's not something new. Hey, I can help, right? And they can get involved. They don't have to get involved in politics, but they can get involved in the community, which is what I think we're missing. I think that's exactly what we're missing.
I mean, I know when I was a kid, I would go across the street to my elderly neighbors and I would take their trash out for them on trash day. That way they didn't have to do it. But I did that and I cut an elderly lady's grass. You know, it's about the community.
Right.
And people
And,
don't
and,
get it.
and speaking, I have a neighbor. Every Sunday I put my cans out on the street for the trash man on Monday. When I come home, my trash bins are back in my yard. Right. My neighbor brings them in, and he knows I'm going to come home, but he still does that for me.
Yeah, good.
And I would do the same for him, but that's really what we're missing. We're missing that kind of neighborly, hey, oh,
Right.
you're new to the neighborhood. Here's a pie. I know it sounds corny, but it develops relationships if you start dealing with people in that sense. Right?
Yep.
Instead of, there's one neighbor that I only hear her voice. I haven't seen her in about 2 years. She doesn't come out of her house.
I think we all got one like that.
I mean, I got 2 school teachers right across the street. Both school teachers. I see them in the morning when they leave, and I don't see them again till the next day. And then on Saturdays, they're locked up in their house, right? We don't have any kids running around the streets. Everybody's hidden, right? They don't want to do anything. So we need to encourage our kids to get involved in things like Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, play sports, get out of the house, go meet the neighbor. It doesn't have to be an everyday thing, but I like going to the market and saying hi to people. And sometimes they look at me like I'm crazy. I don't know who you are. Why are you saying hi to me, right? I know a lot of it is fear, bald head, grumpy guy. But we got to get over all this nonsense or we're never going to get better. We're just not.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
And we're going to leave our kids a mess, right? We'll leave our kids a mess. And I don't want my grandkids to suffer for my fuck ups, right? I don't think any of us do, right? Kids in general, we don't want them to suffer because whatever we did or didn't do, right? We all make mistakes, but we need to do a better job of teaching our youth to be more responsible, to be more caring, to get over themselves, and to get over the negativity that sometimes media and politicians put into our lives, right? Because I don't know if you guys, little kids, doesn't matter what color their skin they are, they love each other and they play with each other, right?
Oh, yeah.
They don't become buttheads until we train them to be buttheads, right? That shit happens at home, right? That shit happens at home. And we need to take responsibility for that so that they don't change, so that they hug each other even when they're adults, regardless of their color, their skin, whatever sexual preference they have, whatever religion they belong to. Those are the things we need to teach our kids, not, nonsense of BLM or violence so it's up to us. And that's one thing that Will taught me. Government begins at home, right? Yep. We train them. We don't want to take responsibility for it, but we train them, right? They copy, they mimic whatever we do or say. So a lot of the issues we have is because of the home, because they learn everything from us, whether it's us or the TV or social media that we're allowing them to use. I'm a big fan of video. I'm a big fan of kids not having anything. And if they want anything, they need parental consent to get it. If they need, access to a certain application on the phones, no. It should be a parent. It should be a parent assigning that, not a kid, right? These apps are easy to get, and parents don't know, don't check, right? And I don't know about you guys, but when I was a kid, I would try to get away with everything, as much as I could get away with. And
thank God we didn't have social media back then. We did get away with it.
And some things I don't want people to know, right? So, but
nowadays the social media is electronic babysitter.
Well, yeah. You see it in restaurants, right? Kids with the phones. Everybody, family, mother, dad, with phones. instead of having a dinner, right? It's really our fault. We've allowed the government to run our lives. We allowed our kids to run our lives because we want to make sure they have rights. We want to make sure they're happy. We want to make sure their feelings aren't hurt. Well, that's why they grow up to be what they are, right? I think you have to lose sometimes.
We got a
You have to
county
get
out here in
rejected.
Virginia.
What's that?
We got a county out here in Virginia that's taken away all their phones. At the end of the day, you don't get them at any time, and there's more interaction between the kids and a lot better.
Well, again, right? The phone is
And I
an
saw
addiction.
an ice cream truck
Right?
that was converted.
You think about all these issues we have.
I
They're
saw
all
an ice cream
addictions,
truck
right?
that would stop by the. Yep, this ice cream truck would stop by in the front of the school. They would collect everybody's phones, give them a coupon for it, and at the end of the day, they bring that coupon back to the truck and they get them. And I thought, what a great idea.
I can't even. Again, I grew up in an era where we didn't have cell phones, so um, I never thought of being on the phone. And now I hate the phone, right?
Right.
I
Yep.
I'm when it rings after a certain time, I'm like, oh crap, I don't even want to deal with that shit. But it's an escape for kids, right? It's an addiction for kids, like a drug addiction, like
Yep.
alcoholism. They get addicted to this stuff, and then their life is. If you take it away, oh, my life is over because I can't talk to my friends, right? And
Right.
and who knows who else you're
I
talking
can't
to?
play my game.
And you don't know how many. Well,
Yep.
we know there's a lot of pedophiles out there cruising the internet and going after kids. And I know that there's rules like Facebook, you got to be a certain age to have an account, but that's nonsense because there's no checks and balances. So if you're 12 years old, you can go on Facebook,
Alleged.
create an account, change your
Right.
date of birth, and you have an account. Right. So,
Yep.
there's no, we get wrapped around nonsense instead of focusing on what's truly important. And I'm going to give you guys another example. I belong to American Legion Post 377, right? And there's been an argument now for 3 months over a person that got laid off, a bartender, because she violated California law, right? But because one group liked her, they're fighting with the other group. We spent the last meeting, which is an hour long on a Sunday, 30 minutes of it arguing over this, over video camera and why you terminated her. It was unfair that you terminated her, right? And I brought up again, hey guys, we're here for two things. We're here for veterans and we're here for the community. I'm like, why are we fighting over this? If she violated California law, then she needs to get terminated because we don't want to lose our liquor license, right? Kind of simple to me. But it becomes personal, right? It becomes personal, never about what truly happened, never about the real issue. It's a personal thing now. So we forget about what our mission really is. Now we're too busy fighting. And I can show you text messages since Sunday, group messages, the whining and sniveling and accusations back and forth of grown veteran men. These guys have been, a lot of them are Vietnam vets.
Oh yeah.
Older guys, and we're fighting over nonsense instead of dealing with what's important. I asked them a simple question. What are you guys doing for Veterans Day? I don't know. Right? This is a veteran organization, and they don't know what they're going to do for Veterans Day. Right? So it's a society issue, right? That we're so selfish, narcissistic, that we only care about ourselves and nobody else. And then we project that to the youth and they become that, right? And then we wonder why they're assholes. Well, because we're assholes, right? Because they mimic us, right? The kids mimic you. It is what it is. And
Yep.
we complain and snivel, but we don't do anything about it, even to correct ourselves because we're perfect, right? In our mind, we're perfect. We don't do anything wrong. And
We
that's
know
the wrong
better.
attitude to have.
Right.
It's the wrong attitude to have. Um, Kind of sad, to be honest with you, where we have grown men fighting over a freaking bartender. Um, or I'm not gonna set up the haunted house for the kids because I'm mad at you, kind of bullshit. Um, and I haven't paid my dues, and I'll tell you guys, and I'll tell everybody out there, I haven't paid my dues because I'm contemplating walking away from it. Because that was the
Right.
reason I never joined to begin with. Because all I heard was whiny little old guys complaining about things that aren't important. Right? And that's sad. That's sad. And those are my brothers. But it's still sad that that's how they act. Um,
They can be whiny little bitches.
I, I I have never in my 26 years in the army, I never dealt with this kind of nonsense. Never,
Oh,
never. Even in our worst days, it was never like it is now. Whether it's work related, whether it's organizations, whether when we did the cleanup, people were fighting on who was in charge of the cleanup. Who cares?
just get it done.
Just pick up the
Do the
trash.
mission.
Who cares who's in charge? Just pick it up.
Right.
You volunteered to do this, so shut up and pick it up.
Right.
Um, and it's not everywhere, but those are symptoms of what the problem of our problems, right? It's those little things that really become big things, and then we make excuses for ourselves why we can't spend time with our kids, right? Well, I work 2 jobs. Well, I do this. You know, sometimes I get home, I'm exhausted, just like you guys. I still gotta, talk to my wife, right? I still have to talk to my grandkids when I see them. I'm picking up Violet tonight when I leave here. It'd be 9 o'clock at night. She has no school tomorrow. I'm picking her up, taking her home.
Wow.
So, people, for whatever reason, we've become a lazy society. We know back in the day, our parents worked hard. Um, they played hard too, but they always made sure that, for the most part, we had a good life. And we kind of screwed that up for our kids and the next generation by spoiling them, by telling I don't want you to go through everything I went through. Um, Maybe we should let them go through a lot of stuff that we went through. Maybe they'll learn. Maybe they'll
Yeah.
make a better person.
Failure is experience.
Yeah, and to me, like, I learn more when I screw up than any other time. Me on a personal level, when I screw something up, I'm learning a lesson, right? Because if I don't screw up, then I'm thinking I'm doing everything the right way, and I'm not learning anything that way. Right?
Right.
One thing I've learned through the campaign is there's a lot of stupid people running for office, right? Uh, and I watch them, and I'm just sitting there going, "Oh my God, like, please, please, right?" And some of them are running; they have a good heart, but one guy, well, I'm retired, I have nothing to do, so I'm running for office. If that's the reason you're running for office, don't run, right?
Right.
Because all you're gonna do is nothing. You're not gonna fight because you're just doing it to have something to do, and that's not really the premise of being a public servant. It's to do something, fight for what's right, help people, um, be at the beck and call of the taxpayer, right? Because we hired you. I don't like saying this, we're paying your salary, but you owe it to us to keep us informed on what's happening. And you owe it to us to ask me, hey, Tony, what's important to you? What's happening in Sunland, Tahunga that I need to help you with? Right? Or what's happening in Los Angeles that I need you to help, that I need your help on? So,
Hello?
yeah, I know. It's been nonstop today. But we don't demand that from our politicians. We don't ask them, right? They were talking about Laura Friedman, my assembly person, and she's been in office 4 years. She's been my assembly person for 2 years, and she's never ever had a town hall in my city, right? Why not? Right. Right now, she could be talking to all her cities. She's back home, right? She could even pretend she's campaigning by talking to all of us. I don't care. But come out and find out what's important to us, right? Versus what you think is important to us. Because I don't want you to make an assumption on what I think. I want you to ask me, hey, Tony, what's important? Well, Laura, climate change is not important to me at this point. What it's important to me is gas prices or the violence that's happening in our streets, or why are we not supporting law enforcement more? Why are we handcuffing these police officers in the street? Why are we making them feel that they're wasting their time if they arrest somebody? Because they technically are, right? They're going to be released. But let's help these guys do their job so that we can be more comfortable. We can walk at night with our dogs. I'm not afraid to leave my door unlocked, right?
I listened to one of the guys on the debate last night, and they said, "What is the main thing that would get the country moving?" And he said, "Energy." And it's true, because if you lower gas prices, drill baby drill, you get the trucks going, the diesel trucks going at a lower rate. Things get passed on to the consumer when the prices get high.
And you're right. And I think sometimes people get confused when you talk about drill baby drill.
Yeah.
And I said this last night. I'm like, I'm not saying that we don't have to take care of the climate at all. I said, but we got to do things the right way. So
Right.
if you want to take care of the climate, I'm 100% behind that. But we have to do it with common sense, right? We got to make sure that we have an infrastructure that can support all that, right?
Right.
And then you can slow down on the drilling if you want, or whatever else you want to do. But do things with common sense. This nonsense of by 2035, or you got to pay to drive in the streets that we already pay tax money to drive in the streets for.
Yeah.
To me, none of that makes sense to me. And I'm not the smartest guy in the room, but it shouldn't make sense to anybody, right? It should not. And it shouldn't take them.
We got windmills being put up in the ocean along the Atlantic Ocean, and they were killing all these whales. Where's PETA?
Yeah,
they don't look at it. They just see what they want to see. Oh, we're going to save money, and these windmills are run off diesel, from what I understand.
Yeah,
so
and oil.
You're defeating the purpose.
Oil.
And
well, if you want to get a good picture of the turbines, look them up. You can't recycle them.
Nope.
When they go bad, they pile them up, right? So you're talking about taking care of the environment. Well, that's not taking care of the environment, right? And if we want to do that, it just can't be the USA. It just can't be us.
Exactly.
Right? It does, because regardless of what we do, if China and Russia and Korea don't do it, it's not going to matter.
Yeah.
It's not going to matter, right? So is that the wrong approach by me? Sort of, because I think we shouldn't worry about other people. But if you want to really take care of the climate, it has to be a worldwide event. It can't be just a U.S. event, because it's not going to work. China is the worst polluter in the world. And until we stop them, it's not going to matter.
They were the ones that invented the COVID mask way before COVID was even around, because of the pollution.
So kind of like everything that's going on, people aren't paying attention to anything until it gets ugly, right? Then when it gets ugly, I don't know, Al, if you remember the riots in I think it was 91, the LA riots. Right?
Yeah, I was there.
Rodney King.
Right.
Yeah, Chief Daryl Gates did a good job getting that under control.
He did. But I will tell you, I was an Army recruiter. And we watched it that night on TV when it began. And at 5 a.m, I was taking an applicant to the processing station, and it was on fire. The processing station on Rodeo and La Brea, it was on fire. I couldn't believe it. I could not believe what was happening in the city. And most people that didn't live in that area really didn't care, right? As long as it didn't come up to their neighborhoods, they didn't care what was going on.
Yeah, it's mostly peaceful.
Yeah, like everything else, right? Um, that was the crazy part that was going on in our city, and many people really didn't pay attention because it wasn't happening in their neighborhoods, right?
Right.
Right, and federal buildings were getting burned. People were being displaced. You had people on roofs with guns trying to protect their stores, um, and you had to see it. I've seen
Right.
some ugly shit in my life, but watching LA burn was pretty horrible. And really nobody really cared, right? We all got carried away with the racism part of it and all that other bullshit, but not what they did to their own neighborhoods, um,
Yeah.
which was the sad part. Um, so it's kind of like we always talk about. If it doesn't happen to me, oh well, right? Kind of
Same
attitude.
thing. Same thing that happened with George Floyd in Minnesota. They
Yeah.
went down, burned their damn neighborhoods down. Now the old people can't get their drugs from the CVS's because they're burned down. They destroy their own. They put their head up their butt so far they don't think about what the outcome is going to be.
Today I was talking about um, with this beautiful older lady about racism, right? And a lot of the laws that we pass in our country to protect some groups from whatever we think is wrong. Um, and to me, all that is a waste of time. And we talked, and she agreed. She goes, I said, we have one constitution, right? If anybody violates anybody's rights, we already have a law, right?
Right.
Doesn't matter if you're black, white, whatever you are.
Orange, green.
You
Yep.
you prosecute the person that committed the crime. That's it. We don't need a special Amber Alert for African American kids like we have in California, right? A kid is a kid. If a kid is missing, everybody should give a shit, right?
Yep.
By you making it a ebony alert or whatever they're calling it now, that's not going to make me think any different of it's still a child.
Right.
A child is not guilty of anything but being a kid, right? That's it. Right. And we need to get over all this nonsense about race, sexual preference, religion nonsense. People are people. And whether you're black, you got to watch. I love watching kids in the mountain. When she was in kindergarten, she was hugging everybody. I mean, she still hugs everybody.
Sure.
She has no concept of the color of your skin or whatever. That's my friend. That's my friend. Right. And we're the ones that teach the kids to stay away and not be friendly to people. So, we just need to pull up our bootstraps and get over ourselves and start being nice. Just be nice.
Yep.
I'm not asking you to hug everybody, but if you see somebody, good morning. Hey, how are you?
That's
Right?
what I tell my politicians out here when they come out and they say, "Oh, I'm running for Senate." And I say, "Oh, really? Have you been in this neighborhood lately?" Because it's all black and they're white. I said, "Have you been in there?" I've been in this one up here and this one over here, but that's not the answer. Go to where the people are. I don't care if they're orange, green, they're from the moon. Go out there, engage them, and they won't listen, so they'll lose.
And again, you can always tell when it's election season. You can always tell, right? They don't come by. I used the Adam Schiff story. I think last year he was in our 4th of July parade, and everybody's shaking his hands and hugging him. And it was one of the groups in my neighborhood, and they posted it on Facebook, and I gave him my response. I'm like, aren't you the ones that say you hate this guy and yet you invite him to our parade? And then you take pictures hugging him? Come on.
Yeah, talking on both sides of your mouth.
If you don't like somebody, don't lie, because then when I talk to you, whatever you say to me means nothing. Means nothing. Because if you lie to him, you're gonna lie to me, right? Especially Adam Schiff. The hell? I mean,
Pencil
if it was Biden, I might forgive it, but Adam Schiff, come on, that dirty son of a bitch.
Yep. I'll have to look for him up here in Potomac, Maryland, and give him the bird every time I go by.
Well, he got caught with his pants down this time around. So, but nothing will happen. Right? Nothing will happen.
I hope Katie Porter kicks his ass.
I'm hoping she does too. I don't want him to win.
Knocks him down. Yep.
I don't want him to win. Unfortunately, Eric Early's not going to win, and Steve Garvey's not going to win. So, we'll see what happens during the election. But I want you guys to know that I submitted my signatures the other day, and they got approved. So I will be on the ballot coming up.
Wait.
So the campaign begins now. So I'll be real busy. Thank you for your support. I'm telling you guys, there's no way I could do this without you guys.
Then I'll know somebody in the California and the Senate and the Hawaiian State Senate.
Okay, that's right. Mikey Gabbard.
Only got 48 more states to go.
we gotta recruit people. I said that today. We gotta recruit people. And I did say something that I truly mean, that if I'm lucky enough to get elected, I'm just gonna do 4 years and I'm out. And that gives me time to find somebody to replace me. I'm not doing this forever.
Oh, hell no.
Well, hey guys, thank you for being on tonight with me. Everybody out there, thanks for being Tony Rodriguez Show on the next USA. You can find me at Tony #4 America.us. And wish me luck on this campaign for California Assembly District 44. Good night, everybody.
You got it.